Welcome to Mundane Conversation. I'm your host, the 2016 presidential election, and today we have a special guest, Ken Bone. For anyone out there who doesn't know who you are, could you give them the rundown of what happened?
I was a member of the panel at the 2016 presidential town hall debate here in the U.S. I was the guy in the red sweater in the front row and became sort of an internet meme afterward.
We recorded yesterday actually, and the recorder I used just didn't work out. I lost the audio, so we're redoing what we lost, but it'll be fine. I have a list of questions or / topics here, and I'll try my best to get through all of them. So the whole thing with you was you were the undecided voter there. Have you ever disclosed who you voted for since?
No, I promised before the election that I would not say who I was going to vote for. And then now that the election is over, and it's been a long time, if I announced who I voted for now, that would just be me trying to put myself back in the limelight, and I don't want to do that.
So now that Trump has won and he is the current president, what do you think of how him and his administration have been doing since?
You know, there are a lot of issues that I don't agree with the president on, things like the border wall and the travel ban that he instituted by executive order. I think those were missteps on his part. Overall, I try to be supportive of the administration, but I'm not going to stay quiet when things happen that I disagree with. There are a few things that I do like. I think he's done a relatively good job with foreign policy, maybe not when it comes to trade, but more specifically on defense. He's, projecting a lot of strength, and hopefully he'll do well with the North Korean crisis that's kind of boiling over right now.
What do you think is the biggest issue that he should be focusing on?
Well, there are a couple. One is the environment. We have global warming is a real and present danger to the entire world, not just the United States. And the U.S. for a long time has had the reputation of being the innovators technology-wise. We have the opportunity to be the technological innovators that help tackle the climate change crisis. But he seems to be backing away from that, and I hope that he'll change his stance. And then two would be in foreign policy. North Korea becoming a nuclear power and trying to flex its muscles by showing that they're testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that. North Korea's closest ally, China, has kind of grown tired of their antics and distanced themselves from the regime. So we'll see how we can balance our relationship with China versus not allowing a rogue nation like North Korea to get its hands on intercontinental nuclear weapons.
So how has your day-to-day life been affected since the whole meme back last October?
Well, I get to do a lot of charity work now, which is nice. I'm big on helping the community whenever I get the chance. And, other than that, it's mostly life is back to normal, except I still get my picture taken with strangers at the grocery store occasionally.
Oh, yeah. How often do you get recognized?
If I go out, at least 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh, do you mind the attention?
It seems to make people happy for whatever reason, so if I can take a minute or two out of my day and, bring a smile to somebody's face just by having my picture taken and telling them some stories, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so as well, a lot of people, I looked for questions out there. With my friends at school, I asked the H3H3 subreddit. So I get some questions, and hopefully we can get a better idea of who the Ken is behind the bone. So
sure.
Wait, so the first red sweater that you had, you sold that for charity, right?
Yeah, IZOD ended up buying it back. They gave $10,000 to Greater St. Louis Honor Flight for it. That's an organization that takes veterans from World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to make the trip, and flies them out to our capital in Washington to see their war memorials. So it's a great way that we honor our veterans. And because of that sweater, we were able to take 18 veterans on that trip.
How much money did you raise?
Well, that sweater raised $10,000.
Wow.
But overall, between what I've been able to give myself and encourage sponsors to give and donations that have been made in my name, we're over $60,000.
I'm sure it's slowed down a bit, but are you still able to make large donations still?
Yeah, the part where I make money and I am able to write big checks myself, I think is probably over. But I'm still able to make appearances for charities. I do trivia nights and golf tournaments, and just whatever charities ask me to do, I'll do for them. And if I can show up and help them raise a few dollars by having my picture taken or playing golf with somebody, I'm more than happy to do that.
Where did you first get the iconic red sweater?
I bought it at a Kohl's in Wausau, Wisconsin, which is maybe 2 hours south of the Canadian border. I bought it because I was there for my nephew's baptism. My wife's family lives there, and the University of Wisconsin is in the area. That's why everything is red, because they're the Wisconsin Badgers, their color is red. So there was actually no political component to that. It's just everything at that store was red. And I wore it because it was, well, not everything, but
Okay.
they're very big college football fans up there, and most of their clothes, like most of their theme stuff, is red. They have a lot of red things.
Makes you think, like, if you had worn a different sweater, would things have panned out how they did?
Probably not.
It was a legendary sweater. So one question from Mac Attack. He wants to know, what are you nostalgic about?
Well, I have a room full of like my collectibles from when I was a kid upstairs, Transformers and things like that. I love stuff from when I was younger in the 80s and 90s. But I try not to get, super nostalgic about the meme days. That was a great experience, and it was interesting, but that part of my life has kind of moved on now. I prefer to take my life one day at a time rather than dwelling on the past.
Yeah. Is there any particular thing from your childhood that you, remember the most?
Probably Christmas time every year. My grandfather was he was nuts about Christmas. We had our house covered in lights. We had the living room, had dozens of decorations in it. The whole thing was done up for Christmas. He was just fanatical about it. It would start the day after Thanksgiving and wouldn't end until New Year's. And I remember one particular Christmas, I was 5 years old. I woke up at 4 a.m, and I was an only child then. It was before my sister was born. I didn't want to wake up the rest of the family, so I just sat in our blue easy chair next to the Christmas tree. I turned the Christmas tree on and turned on the TV and watched the Smurfs Christmas special and a few other cartoons before everybody else woke up at about 7:30. So it was kind of nice having the house to myself, because there were 7 of us in the house: my grandparents, my parents, my uncle. The house was always very crowded, so having the living room all to myself for a few hours was pretty great.
That's nice. That's a nice memory. It's interesting to see what other people, the holidays are always a nice time, like the specials that come on. I always like the Charlie Brown Christmas special myself. Okay, so another question. Tenacious Dwight asks, how has Trump's administration affected you personally through his policies on coal, if at all?
Not at all. The coal plant that I work for is brand new. It's only about 6 years old, and it has all the best environmental protection technologies that are available on the market. So it was already, safe from regulations. And the regulations that have been rolled back by the Trump administration, they mostly benefit natural gas rather than coal. I feel it's kind of disingenuous of the administration to try to tell coal miners that they're going to get put back to work, because it simply isn't going to happen. Natural gas is so much cheaper than coal that older coal plants that are less efficient, they just can't compete. And as the regulations get dialed back, natural gas becomes even cheaper to mine. So it gets an even bigger competitive advantage over coal. So folks that work at those older plants, they're probably starting to get a little more worried about their jobs than they were before.
Oh, really?
But at my plant, we're well set up to run for probably another 20 years or so, unless there's a drastic change.
So natural gas companies are getting the real benefits.
Yeah, natural gas companies are they're making quite a bit of money now. They're actually at the point where their product has become so cheap that it almost hurts them because it's not terribly profitable to ship long distances.
Yeah.
So one of the things we're hoping for is that Rex Tillerson can work out some trade deals with foreign nations and get developing countries to buy our natural gas because it's cleaner than their local sources, and it will help stabilize the natural gas market. And it'll become something that the U.S. can start exporting again, something that we desperately need.
The Plastic Chipster asks, would you collaborate with H3H3 for a video?
Yeah, I've been on with Ethan before, and if he ever wanted to do anything again, I certainly would. Ethan and Ela are great people. They're exactly the same off camera as they are on, right down to the goofy phrases and the facial tics and everything. Ethan's a very genuine guy, and I respect him a lot. You know, it's one of the toughest parts of the meme thing is when I was getting smeared falsely by the media.
Oh, yeah.
And he stepped in and defended me when it would have been easier and probably more profitable to just pile on and say I was a jerk. But he wanted to find out the truth, which is incredible because, you know, he's the guy that's famous for wearing, 100 stocking caps, and doing goofy stuff and doing reaction videos.
The beanie.
But in the end, he cared more about the truth than these so-called journalists that were trying to rake me through the mud. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Ethan, and if he ever needed my help doing anything, I would certainly do it for him.
So, when that whole thing, I remember at school learning about all this, first, the Ken Bone, all my friends would talk about it. And when I think H3 did, because we all watched that channel, my friends at school, so I think that really did influence, at least the high school general consensus of the whole situation, because, I remember all my friends, too, were all yeah, we need to defend Ken Bone. He's seems like a really wholesome guy, and I'm really glad that all this did land on you, because, it's nice to see that you're using, the influence and everything towards, benefiting communities, towards charity work. It's just nice. Another, I guess, a comparison you could make is to the Cash Me Outside whole meme thing, where that one, the popularity of that was just used to boost itself.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. A lot of the people that you see that become memes, Chewbacca Mom and folks like that, they're just not interested in public attention. And, it's not a fun experience for them to get pulled into it. And so they kind of just let it fall off rather quickly. But I saw an opportunity to do some good for my community, and I was having a good time, and I don't mind doing it. So I was able to do that. And unfortunately, there are some people who love the attention for the wrong reasons, like Cash Me Outside. But I think by and large, there are more people like me than most people would think. I know we've become pretty cynical in the last few years. But most people are just decent folks who are trying to do their best and want to help people out. And I think that, sometime in the next couple of years, there's going to be another big meme blow up, and they'll do an even better job than I did. They'll be the new Ken Bone, the improved Ken Bone. And, I'm just happy to have been one of the early adopters of that, using your meme opportunity to help people out.
I like your optimistic view on things. I think, you are one of the original wholesome memes, because nowadays wholesome memes is a more popular thing. And it's funny how people, attached to the meme because of the whole, election. Everything was a mess. Nobody was having fun. And so everyone just needed, red sweatered hero to make them feel better.
Yeah, the election was a was a really tough time. It was the most divisive election in my lifetime, certainly. And so everybody just wanted to have fun with something. So I'm glad I had that opportunity to make a few people smile and forget about how nasty they were being to each other the day before.
Because when the public eye comes on you, like, you didn't ask for this. It was very surprising to you, and I'm sure it changes. It changes, and you don't know how you'd like act. I don't know how I would act, but like, I'm glad that you have handled things very well and for benefit.
I'm confident that you do better than you think. That's what I always tell people when they're like, "Oh, I couldn't have done that." Yeah, you probably could. You probably would have done all right. You might not have enjoyed it as much as I did, but you probably would have did just fine.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, I suppose that's all we have. That's all my questions. Thank you for doing this with me and coming on the podcast. Because it's crazy, you were on like news shows and like talk shows.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of stuff. I've been on Jimmy Kimmel a couple of times. Been on Anderson Cooper. I've been on TV, the radio, or on podcasts now in 33 different countries. But I try to never turn anybody down if I can help it. If I can clear a few minutes, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I guess that's the end. Thank you for listening, and thank you for coming on. I guess I'll let you go. Papa bless.
All right, thanks for having me. Papa bless. Everybody have a great day, and check out sunnyhillinc.org or sunnyhill.org or at Sunnyhill Inc. They're the latest charity I've been working with. They help people with developmental disabilities at all ages. And if you're looking for a charity to help support, they're a great one. And we'd really appreciate you spreading the word about it.
Is there any other like charities you'd like to mention, or?
Well, the biggest charity I've worked with since this whole thing started is called the St. Patrick's Center. They're at stpatrickcenter.com. They are a Homes First initiative for the homeless here in the St. Louis area in the U.S. They take people who are homeless and first put them in a stable home, like get them an apartment or a house to live in, and then get them job training, drug counseling, whatever it is they need to keep them from becoming homeless again. But they introduce stability into these people's lives first, rather than doing it the other way around. And it's tremendously successful, but it costs a lot more than the old method of giving people counseling and then trying to find them a house.
Well, they sound like good causes, and I'll put any links in the description, relevant links if you want to support any of these that were mentioned. That'll be below. So, again, thank you, and I suppose that's all.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.